7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, November 13th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We've got a lot to talk about this hour. I've now listened to 2 whole Candice Owens podcasts, Bill.
Ew. Those are hours you're never going to get back in your life.
Oh, boy. But everybody's talking about it. I think it became the most downloaded podcast in history.
Really? I got questions. That's not good. I got other stuff. I was listening to a podcast yesterday about the how, this is, again, where my brain goes, how koala bears went into an evolutionary cul-de-sac and probably should not be living anymore. That they are so evolutionary, backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That they should really not survive.
That faint. You're like, how did this continue?
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things. I had no idea. There are so many things that you're like, oh, that makes sense. But, oh, my God, they're phenomenally stupid. They're really bad parents. They're all sorts of things. They really can't survive on their own in many cases. And you're like, how does this thing still exist? And that's basically what it was, is they've gone down an evolutionary cul-de-sac and they're kind of screwed. But yeah, that was it. That's where I went.
By the way,
you spent time with Candice.
Did you see the video of the prank they pulled one time on this British journalist about a koala bear?
Oh, no, what? Ooh,
they talked about the guys in the zoo.
Yeah.
Talked about how koala bears can get into heat and become vicious.
Oh.
So they dressed her up in one of those things that the dogs attack you in,
the attack,
right? With a full helmet and eyes. And they handed her a koala bear, and she's so nervous.
Oh my God, no way.
Holding it, and the koala bear's just sweet and nice.
Oh my God, that's great.
It was a great prank.
Oh, that's
and then
fantastic.
eventually she figures it out that they've totally got it. But yeah, so what makes a koala bear an evolutionary?
Part of it is they've chosen to eat eucalyptus leaves, which are somewhat toxic and really hard to digest. But they've only chosen to eat those leaves. They could have eaten any other leaf, but they decided to focus on only those. And they're so hard to digest, it has to ferment in their gut for sometimes 10 to 12 hours before a digestion can even happen.
Is that why they're so slow? They're just drunk on fermented eucalyptus?
It's actually they can't expend enough energy because they can't get enough energy out of the eucalyptus leaves to be active enough. So they have to rest in order to process, in order to let their body digest. And they are so freaking stupid. If you took the eucalyptus leaves off the branch and put them on a plate in front of them, they wouldn't eat them because they wouldn't recognize them. They don't look at them as sight, smell, nothing. Leaf not on branch, me no eat leaf. Yeah. In fact, they are so bad, their brain is smooth. And that's important because the crinkly parts in your brain are all the thinky bits.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So again, they're morons. Absolute freaking morons. And I will not disgust everybody with how they raise their children and how they feed them. It is absolutely vile. There is a series of choices along the evolutionary scale they made, and every single one of them was bad. You think the panda bears have made bad evolutionary choices. Koala bears, oh my God. They should not be alive based on the number of really stupid things. They are too dumb to come in out of the rain. They will sit there and just get wet, sometimes catching pneumonia. Good job, guys. Yeah, stupid animals. Yeah, stupid animals.
Oh, there's some connection there to
the
leadership of the city of Denver. We will talk Candice Owens, her latest podcast, some of her conspiracy theories, all of that coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Douglas County School Board deciding not to grant blanket approval to charter schools. It's going to get complicated for those educating their kids in Douglas County with this new school board. We'll talk about that in the 8 o'clock hour. Colorado's middle class moving out. We'll get into that in the 9 o'clock hour. Plus, Ron DeSantis picking a Twitter fight with Jared Polis. We've got a lot to talk about. Now it's time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It's Thursday, 43 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 71 today. Another beautiful day. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story: DJT cheered on after signing the new bill. It's the end of the Schumer shutdown, the longest in American history. Should bring some relief to air travelers at DIA today and this weekend as the FAA has announced it's freezing flight reductions. DJT signed off on ending the shutdown last night.
The spending bill signed by President Trump in the Oval Office late Wednesday night funds the government through the end of January, but it does not address the top talking point for Democrats, extending the subsidies for health care plans obtained through the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. In addition to reopening the government, the new law funds SNAP benefits through next year, so they won't be at risk if there's another government shutdown in February. I'm Rory O'Neill.
And speaking of the ACA, 47 got after it following the signing and talked about all the garbage with Obamacare.
It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And
Boy, isn't that the truth? House Speaker Johnson says a bill compelling the Justice Department to release all of its Epstein case files will receive a vote on the House floor next week. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert joining Democrats in forcing a House vote to release the files on Wednesday. Boebert kept her signature on the petition demanding the full release of the investigative files on Epstein. Last night, Boebert rejected a claim that she was feeling pressure from the administration and said she felt no pressure. Boebert is one of 4 Republicans who signed the petition, and Jeff actually talked to her last night. And Jeff, if you're there, basically, what did she say?
Yeah, so she goes into the Situation Room. She met with Pam Bondi. She met with Kash Patel. This was all acknowledged by the White House. She said that the discussions were geared towards a mutual goal of transparency and getting justice for the victims. So no daylight between Lauren Boebert and the Trump administration right now. They're both on the same path of wanting to achieve that. She agreed that she doesn't think that there's anything in there that's going to implicate Donald Trump. I think most people believe that would have been exposed years ago. So she thinks that working together is going to achieve the same goal that we're all working towards. So
that is awesome. How cool is that we can just turn to Jeff and he can punch in his phone anyone we need to talk to and get the real story. So thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. I am with General Flynn here. American people need to know there's an open investigation in the Charlie Kirk case. No stone left unturned. Jeff and Billy are going to talk about the Candice coverage coming up, but there are far too many questions.
There's too many questions out there that still remain. What do we believe? So I look at myself as an American citizen. What do the American citizens believe right now that are here? And these people represent, 75 million of them, right? So what do they believe? They believe that there's more to it. So I think from the perspective of the administration and the perspective of certainly the Department of Justice, it ought to just be, look, we're looking at everything. We are looking at every single angle, not just of the trajectory of the bullet, but we're looking at every angle of this investigation. We are going to dig, because Charlie Kirk deserves it, okay? His legacy deserves it. The American people deserve it. The people that Charlie Kirk was leading, as a huge movement, they deserve it. So.
Yep. And the truth has to be exposed, just like the pipe bomber on J6 is being exposed. That happened over the weekend, of course. It's the end of an era as the U.S. Mint has struck its final penny. DJT previously announced plans to retire the coin, which dates back to 1793 in February, citing production costs as a primary reason. 70-year-old Marcus Marte, a suspect arrested in September for stalking Fox 31 meteorologist Kylie Bierce is now facing a felony charge. He was taken into custody 2 days ago after he drove up, to the Denver home of Bierce. Yeah, right?
Golly,
Jeez.
the amount of work that meteorologist had to do to try to elevate this case.
Right.
Was ridiculous. This guy was a constant stalker, always violating everything that they put in front of him. And the Denver DA wasn't doing anything about it.
Just sitting there, man. And she got after it. Good for her. And thankfully that did happen. Nuggets last night at the Clippers.
Rejected. Jokic has it. Snap it out. Christian's got it. Give it to Jokic. Running like a horse. Yeehaw.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Nikola Jokic drops 55 on the Clippers, 12 boards, 6 assists. He's incredible. Unbelievable. The Buffalo Sabres in town tonight to take on the Avalanche in Lodo, and the Broncos with another big day of practice today. They're on the field as they prepare for the big AFC West showdown against the Chiefs. Sean Payton.
It can change.
Talking about the offense.
Change based on, are you playing a man-to-man defense? Or are you playing a zone defense? And it can change based on your personnel.
He does a great job of absolutely saying nothing and killing about 15 to 18 minutes in these press conferences. I mean, it is beautiful. Says nothing. That's awesome. That's what a coach is supposed to do. 42 in Englewood, 39 in Golden, 43 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. News Talk 710 KNUS.
We'll continue with this unseasonably warm, dry weather until we get to the end of the weekend and into next week when the weather does finally begin to change and get a little bit more like November. Short term, though, unseasonably warm. Temperatures getting into the upper 60s and lower to mid-70s today. 60s and lower 70s Friday and Saturday. Increasingly cloudy 60s Sunday. Chance of showers Sunday night into Monday. And as we get into Sunday night, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, expect a cooling trend. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, I don't have any problem with wanting to get the truth out with regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk at all. I clearly want that to be fully exposed. I trust the FBI and the prosecutors in Salt Lake City to want to chase this down. What's wild to me is we haven't had a trial yet.
Yeah.
Like there's evidence rules when you introduce things at a trial. We have set up a system so that we pursue truth. What's kind of interesting to me is that a bunch of people without any training in that are just kind of throwing stuff out there.
Yeah. It's too bad they didn't ask Kim Kardashian because, she could ask her psychics about it. Going back to yesterday, Kim complaining about psychics complaining about psychics telling her she was going to pass the bar and that she failed. So, again, that's what I see a lot of this stuff right now as people that are, again, like visiting psychics. They're looking and trying to read things into situations, like going back to last hour, that may not be there.
Well, there's a guy talking to a bush. Did you hear about that?
Yes, that's great.
You did hear about that?
No, actually I didn't. I just figured in general.
Oh, okay.
What's he doing?
So this was part of Candice Owens' things yesterday. There's a guy talking to a bush.
What?
Why was he talking to the bush? He's talking to a bush, and they show the video, and they show him talking to a bush. I'm not kidding you. This was like a good portion of her podcast.
And for what? Why are we concerned?
And then it's Rob McCoy's brother who's taking pictures with Charlie Kirk 20 minutes before the assassination. Then he's talking to a bush, Bill.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to stop. And now we're going to go and talk about what happened in Las Vegas during the shooting there. So, I mean, seriously, that's what it's talking like listening. So you're like, wait, what? Are we going to finish the thought on the guy with the bush?
Yeah. And here's the weird part is I understand the idea of he's talking to a bush. I talk to myself all the time. I'm one of the few people whose advice I sometimes trust. So there's times where I will walk around the house and my kids are like, oh, you're talking to yourself. Yes, I am. I will talk through things. I do. I will, even while I'm making stuff, I'm like, oh, that was stupid. You shouldn't do that next time, you dummy. I mean, all the time. And so seeing someone sitting there and talking to a bush, that could be me on a certain day, like maybe after one of those days, Jeff, where you and I have a particularly contentious, hour. And so I'll stop there at the bush. I should have said, Jeff, and I'm talking to the bush. Not unusual.
But, Bill, this is the most downloaded podcast, I think, in history, or something close to that. Okay. Jeez. So here's what it's like. Here's the journey. Yeah. Here's the little synopsis of what it's like. So she'll go, there's a man talking to the bush. We have video. Here's the video of a man talking to the bush. And it's a video from far away, and you don't know who he's talking to. But it looks like he's talking to the bush.
Oh, that's great.
All right, this man is Pastor Rob McCoy's brother. Pastor Rob McCoy's brother was taking pictures just 20 minutes before the assassination with Charlie Kirk. Pastor Rob McCoy runs a church in Thousand Oaks. There was a shooting that took place at a bar in Thousand Oaks. Did you know this? And one of the men shot at the bar in Thousand Oaks was also present at the shooting that took place in Las Vegas.
I was hoping you were going to say his name was Bush, just because.
Yeah, right. No, but it's about as good as that.
Yeah.
Bill, do you feel like you really know what happened in the shooting in Las Vegas? Now, Pastor Rob McCoy's son is Mikey McCoy. Mikey McCoy was Charlie Kirk's chief of staff. Now, Bill.
Oh, my goodness.
Bill, my gut tells me something's wrong here.
Oh, jeez.
Do you know the truth of what really happened in Las Vegas? That was the biggest mass shooting of this country's history. But do you feel like you really know the truth, Bill, of what happened there? And so you're sitting there going, wait, hold on.
Yeah, hold on. We started with Charlie.
We were talking to a guy. We start with a guy talking to a bush. What happened to that guy?
Yeah.
Now I'm over in Las Vegas. Now I'm with Mikey McCoy. By the way, Bill, Mikey McCoy's not his real name. That's his middle name. So what's his real name? And then she goes, I would like people who knew him in high school to give me a call so I can get what it was really. So you're like, your mind's like hold on. What? Like, this is why I actually got a headache, because I'm like, what happened to the guy with the bush?
Yeah, aren't we on this
story? Now I'm in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And what happened? Now I'm with Mikey McCoy. And so it's an hour of this, Bill.
I've read animes like this, and it's like, I don't understand. It's like, where'd the koala bear come from all of a sudden?
I mean, it's one of the... Where did the koala bear come? That's good. So it's just painful because, one, I'm not sure how much it helps the situation to have a process that's taking place to convict the perpetrators of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, of going after and really getting truth and pursuing justice, and to have these podcasts that are wildly popular, in part because it exposes rifts within the conservative movement, which I think is not helpful. But then to sit back and at the end of an hour go, I'm more confused than I've ever been before. I don't know if I learned anything other than we literally let our mind just go. And it's almost like the part of discernment that would go, well, clearly that would never happen. Because she went down this pathway, and I'm talking to you as a guy who spent the last 30 years of his life working in the evangelical movement, that there was a post-World War II military psyop into churches to promote Zionism, and that the coming together of all these pastors in Turning Point USA Faith, Rob McCoy, Lance Wallenow, and others, was a fulfillment of the pinnacle of the operation to take out somebody that was now questioning Israel because of the military psyop. Like,
whoa.
It's just, Bill, what? And then to have so many people start to listen to this and embrace this with no evidence that is taking place. Help me. Okay. I'm going to reveal some personal conversations here.
Also,
So-
though, I want to go do one thing before you do that because
Yes.
I want to hold the audience in suspense. A little radio trick here. But on a side note, I have kind of a critique on Owens and people of their ilk who sit there and say, "Well, what's wrong? I'm just asking questions." And the thing for me is, no, you're not. You're not asking questions. You're trying to lead people to a conclusion. But because you can't prove the stuff that is falling out of your pie hole, you need an out, and that is, I'm just asking questions. How hard is that? There are some people out there asking questions about whether or not the earth is flat. Doesn't mean we have to listen to their questions.
Yeah. Like that's where I say like discernment seems to have fallen out of this whole thing.
That's exactly it.
All right. So Charlie was a good friend.
Yeah. And this is tough for you because you knew him at the beginning.
I don't like to I really don't like to expose conversations I have with my friends just to the public. But I think,
and the other part is this
this will help people understand where Turning Point USA Faith went.
And I think the important part is that's important in this conversation is that Candice refers back to stuff that is original in the founding of Turning Point USA and where it came from, etc. And you were there having the conversations on the ground floor when this was still a germ of an idea that Charlie was trying to grow into fruition. So when people talk about where this happened and where it originated, you were part of those original conversations.
Yes.
So you are uniquely positioned to critique what other people are saying about these origin story conversations.
Correct.
So continue,
Correct.
please.
Because I think it helps provide some context because she spent a lot of time going after these pastors. And while I don't always agree with these pastors, I've featured them in some of the documentaries I've worked on. And I'm not theologically aligned with them. This effort, there was no effort, and I don't see any evidence that the pastors were involved in a Zionist plot to assassinate Charlie Kirk. It's just wild to me. Okay, so I go down in 2021, I think. And we're filming Charlie for a Western Conservative Summit thing that we're doing. And I'm hanging out in Charlie's office, and he talks about launching Turning Point USA Faith. And I have a master's of divinity. So my initial memo to him as I get on the plane and fly home that night was that I think the work needs to be done at the seminary level because that's the production of all the future kind of pastors in this country, for the most part, comes from seminaries. And seminaries have gone woke a long time ago. My alma mater, Fuller Seminary, is wildly woke, right? And it's producing 1,000 pastors a year that embrace wokeness. And I fought and challenged and battled with their chair of their ethics department, a guy named Glenn Stossin, for years in the student newspaper and all stuff. So I'm well aware of how woke seminaries are. And my recommendation to him was long-term institutional development for influencing our pastors to not be so woke, because the left has clearly captured all these other seminaries and are making a lot of the pastors in this country woke. What I think happened, and Charlie and I never had any subsequent conversations, was he was one that wanted change today. He wanted to get after it. And what you had with particularly Calvary Chapel pastors was you had pastors that were just able to work independently of any type of denominational structures. They're standalone churches. They get to make the decisions. Pastors like Rob McCoy and Lance Wallnau, they have their own ministries. They can make changes today. They can go partner up with Turning Point USA Faith. And this Sunday, you're going to hear about what Turning Point Faith is doing. So what you heard with Candice is this like bizarre allegations that Charlie was taken over by cults, that Charlie was connecting with these weird pastors with the 7 mountains and all this stuff. And I think from my perspective, with my conversations with Charlie, was that it was about implementing change as quickly as possible. That he wasn't, going on a 20-year roundabout route of engaging with denominations like the Southern Baptist Convention, for instance, or the Presbyterian Church of America, was just going to be something that took a lot of work, and he was interested in partnering with pastors that could begin communicating to their congregations today. And Charlie was a coalitions guy, so he was not the type of guy that you had to believe 100% on all things in order to work together. If you were 80% of the way there, if you were 50% of the way there, he was willing to work with you. So if you had some kind of interesting theological beliefs, okay. But are we going to partner together to advance our conservative values? Let's do it. That's great. So I think that critique that Charlie was in bed with weird cultish-like pastors and was compromised theologically, it just doesn't hold water with the conversations I had with him. It wasn't about being compromised. It was about getting in front of people today, working with pastors that could work right now and not be bogged down with a whole bunch of denominational institutional stuff. Sorry, I think it's a pretty simple explanation, right?
Yeah, but simple explanation doesn't hold many times when the conspiracy theory is much more sexy. You know, the idea that DIA was overbuilt and had problems with an automated baggage system that was never going to work right is not as sexy as tunnels for lizard people. Yeah, that's much more fun. Yeah, you can get a lot more tourists with lizard people tunnels.
And I think so much of what's happening right now is it's like watching the Mean Girls movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like this kind of gossip. Like Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and Candice Owens, and they're feuding, and what are they feuding today? And Ben Shapiro and all this. And then you add some like weird Zionist conspiracy. Are you kidding me? Like the idea, I was talking to somebody yesterday, like I can't get pastors to get together to stop Colorado's embrace of a constitutional amendment for abortion. Okay? I was the guy trying to do it. Hey, everybody, can we at least, can you send a message to your congregation that we don't want to have our tax dollars paying for abortions? Crickets. Yeah. The idea that there's some military psyop taking place to get all the churches to become pro-Israel, Zionists, is so ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even tell you how ridiculous that is.
A friend of mine that used to work here in radio, that now works at another radio station, talked about the idea of working with churches and how trying to get pastors together and to try to agree on getting them to do anything was like herding cats. So the idea that there's some sort of military operation where all the pastors are like, oh, absolutely, we will do this. They're like, he's like, we couldn't get them to agree on what the menu should be at a group potluck kind of a thing, as far as which congregations we're going to focus on desserts and which we're going to do main dishes and which one we're going to do sides. They couldn't even figure that out. And somehow they're going to be able to faithfully execute a large psyop. Like, please, come on. It just doesn't make any sense.
And the weird thing is, it just keeps going back to the Jews on all these.
Yeah, that's a weird one, too.
Like, she gets to the point where, towards the end of this last hour's podcast, where she's like, all the Muslims that are coming to Europe are because we went and bombed their countries, and we were inspired to do so because of the Jews. I'm just like the reason people call you anti-Semitic is because you spend so much time on your podcast blaming random crap on the Jews.
Yeah. And there's something that's weird that I had read recently, and it talked about how the Jewish people are singled out over and over again, and it was more of an examination across history and certain parts of commerce, economy, everything else. And again, it's the idea that Jews run Hollywood, Jews run the banking system. And they said, well, oddly enough, there aren't a whole bunch of people that are Jewish that are in the hierarchy of the NFL. Does that mean the Gentiles are running the
Yeah,
NFL.
right.
And then they were looking at the idea of, we don't turn around and say, wait, it's a bunch of Christians that are running all these car companies. This is a Gentile conspiracy to hold down the fill in the blank. That it only happens with this particular group. We don't ascribe any sort of this type of religious affiliation and them controlling an entire segment of an economy except for the Jewish people. And that is a tremendous irony. If you buy into the idea that, of course, the Jews control this, I ask you, how many times have you turned around in your own life and gone, well, obviously, this is the Christians controlling this. Obviously, this is big Santa that is controlling Christmas.
It's
come on.
almost Marxist.
Yeah, in some ways,
It's if you read the first page of the Communist Manifesto, all of history is oppressor versus oppressed.
Yeah.
Those oppressors, there's always a group of oppressors somewhere
always.
that's happening.
And it's much easier to control you if you say that some sort of outside group is responsible for whatever dangers or whatever you're struggling with in your life.
It's the richest fault.
And also, and remember that, if you're buying into what Candice is saying, remember it's Candice that floated the idea that the Jews ethnically cleansed the Germans after World War II. Go get a history book and prove that. Just spend some time. Again, if that's where she's operating off of as her base system, and this is important, before you start believing all this stuff, but she's asking these things about, no. This is something that she is trafficked in that is easily verifiable in a half an hour on the big Google box. And you can see that she is full of crap.
Bill, who owns Google?
It's got to be the Jews.
Yeah, there you go.
So, of course, they would tell us. Ah! Damn it.
Welcome to the conspiracy.
Yes, exactly.
Doom loop.
Oh, my God.
All right, let's talk about your hair. If you're losing it and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam! It grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology. And best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself, 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. We'll get to your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking the Candice Owens podcast.
I know.
Because everybody else is, we might as well. I listened to it. It gave me a headache because I think I have a form of ADD, but not at that level. Good night.
Yeah.
It's like it just jumped all over the place. It's like that meme with the little conspiracy theories. You start out with a guy talking to a bush and you end up with a Las Vegas shooter.
Yeah. We don't know any of the answers.
And brothers and sons and names. Someone's using their middle name. They must be hiding something. I'm not saying it. I'm just asking questions. Something doesn't sit right. Bill kept going back to it. Something doesn't sit right.
And again, if someone just using their middle name instead of their first name as far as birth.
Hiding.
Well, here's the thing. Then we got some questions about our former cowboy poet that we went to his memorial this week.
His actual name
because his first name was George, but he went by Jeff. So is he hiding something? Right. Maybe he's part of the big Zionist conspiracy. That's how dumb it is. That's how dumb it is that just because our mutual friend, Jeff Hildebrand, chose to go by his middle name rather than his first, Candice Owens sees that as the spawn of a conspiracy. And he's hiding something.
Bill,
this
we're just missing
stupid.
Out on stuff because of the attention that's coming. We should just come up with some conspiracy theory.
I also think the recreational drugs would be a lot more fun.
The reason I'm so obsessed with Kyle Clark was because it's a breakup.
Oh, God, that's funny. Oh, my God.
Jeff and Kyle were seen holding hands in Wash Park one time.
Yes, one time.
Think about all the clicks, man. See that? It's Alex Jones figured this out a long time ago.
See how easy this is.
Let's go to Joan in Lakewood. Good morning, Joan. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
I have a question. Who did your little jingle? I think that is a conspiracy in itself to drive everybody just completely out of their mind.
Everywhere it's in my head, stuck in my head. Little earworm.
It's an earworm. Yeah, it's an earworm. Yeah. There's a conspiracy behind it. It is something that's supposed to stick in your head all day. Yep, absolutely.
Well, it does. So here's the thing. First of all, I've never told this much in public, but I did spend 6 months at the seminary in DU there at Iliff in the 80s. And it was a really interesting situation where I ended up having to leave because they were working so hard at tearing down my faith so they could build up my faith again as a woke person.
Oh, yeah. No, they are so bad right now. They're completely, that one's always been super woke, but most evangelical seminaries, even Denver Seminary, I think has gone woke here.
Well, I can relate that direction. But the part that's interesting to me is right now there seems to be a spiritual awakening happening among people. They've lost their way as far as the churches and stuff because they got us to stop going to the churches. This was big. My grandfather was a circuit rider, okay? And there are people who tell me that the beginning of the Methodist Church was a cult. And my grandfather was really very, very evangelical. And he died at 55 because he rode the Dakota Territory and just rode himself into oblivion. So I can understand some real wanting of spiritualness in your life to the point where it becomes obsessive. And I look out and I see what people are doing and stuff, and it strikes me as really interesting because I don't think there's any discernment. And the reason why I told Billy this, is because the other day on Salem I heard the ad for the California Psychics. So the California Psychics
We're running ads on California Psychics on Salem?
Yep.
Was it on us or was it one of those podcast and hosting things? Because sometimes iHeart makes those choices. We don't.
Yeah, I think it might have been iHeart. I don't know. What it was just incredibly interesting to me because one, they were asking if you were having trouble finding your special person, that spirit, that person you wanted to be with all your life.
Oh my God, how funny.
It was a matchmaking ad for the California psychics.
Oh my God. Now, Joan, okay, this is really funny that you say this because I ran across a social media ad a couple of weeks ago, and now it is stalking me online. And the whole ad was you click on the ad, you send them some money, and then they will send you a hand-drawn picture of your soulmate. They know who it is.
Hand-drawn?
Yeah, hand-drawn. Yeah, not a picture or anything else. And I'm thinking, you can't even get a picture of him? Yeah, I'm like, really? Okay, fine. Yeah.
Chat GPT, just topping that stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Joan.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to me because I'm now out here and I'm getting calls from different kinds of candidates and stuff, and they're like, we're going to form a coalition, and I'm like, okay, I'm into coalitions and stuff. And the part that is kind of difficult is there are people who are like, well, but we can't be with that person. I'll be with this, but I can't be with that person. And it's like, the GOP is just insane right now.
Yeah, Joan. What I see on those Candice podcasts is what I experience in politics everywhere I go, is infighting and frustration and territorialism and all that other stuff. And I think Charlie was brilliant. A lot of people don't understand how hard it is to be a coalition's leader and to take strong personalities like that, like Megyn Kelly, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, and keep them organized, focused on a single goal, and not allow this to all just fall out into the public square. And I think a lot of the viewers she's getting are people that are just kind of interested in that kind of like personal drama and gossip. But Joan, one thing that stood out to me listening to all that is that issue of discernment. We recognize that the battles that we're facing are not just between flesh and blood, but are spiritual battles. And discernment is a gift from the Holy Spirit to understand what is true and what is not true, and to not throw people's names out there without strong evidence. I think there's a spiritual issue going on here, and it's worrying me. But I appreciate the call, Joan. We got to get up to a break here.
You.
Let's talk Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian that's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He also got that $200 million verdict for a family up in Glenwood Springs where their daughter died on that terrible accident, exposing what was really happening there. Dan gets to the truth, and he gets justice for Colorado families. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking the Candice Owens podcast, which I think is one of the most popular podcasts in the world right now. And it gave me a headache. But what do you think? Let's go to Brian in Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. On a quick side note, I walking around the house the other day going, waking up to Jeff and Bill. And my kids go, who's Jeff and Bill?
Hey, all right. You should tell your kids. You should say, they're your older two brothers who didn't clean their rooms when I wanted them to, and so we had to ship them off. Just keep that in mind. I'm just saying, take an opportunity here.
Yeah. I just told them they're friends you've never met.
Excellent.
So it's hilarious. So it's definitely working. And I come from the, loving music in the 90s. So it just fits right in, late 90s stuff.
Oh,
so,
that's nice.
but, I'll date myself. When I was in junior high, when they called it that, we had a social studies teacher who we did a mock trial for JFK assassination. And I was on the side of, it was more than one actor. And we did, and then we had a trial, and we had people come in that, and we did, this was before the Oliver Stone film. So it was amazing, but that's when I started realizing, hey, maybe we're not getting the real truth from the government. And I think we rarely do get the truth. I'm not going to go off on Alex Jones, Sandy Hook never happened, but, and this Candice thing has got me all worked up. I think she's doing it for clicks, but we're not, I'm not going to believe that this guy acted solo all by himself, no help, no nothing, found the area, found where he's going to be, knew there's so much information that guy would have had to act alone. I don't think he was a lone actor. And, then we have Bobby Kennedy, then we have Martin Luther King, and we have Malcolm X, and we have these series of assassinations in the 60s that we weren't told the truth. And so now you're sitting here, are we just supposed to believe whatever the FBI and the CIA tells us? So I'm kind of in the middle of, I'll listen. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole, but we're not being told the truth. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Brian, what gets me, though, is it's not a, exploration of one particular thing. I mean, it is like the whole scenario is like some weird conspiracy, like the guy's talking to a bush and he's the brother of another pastor and that guy's uncle was in the Masons, and you're just like, it's like the entire 30,000 person group or 3,000 person group, whoever was there, has some connection to some, and then at the end of the day, it just ends up with the Jews. So it's just like, it's not focused on one particular direction. It's like the entire thing is weird in some conspiracy, which is off to me.
Well, if you've got to make 20 connections to get back all the way to lead you back to the Jews or back to something, that's usually not what's happening. But
Yeah.
Why don't we have any information on this? Why don't we have, it's an active investigation. We're 2 months into this. We should know more about who this person is, who they talked to prior to this, how they even plotted it out. You want us to believe this guy just one day woke up and said, I'm going to do this, and then acted alone, didn't tell anybody.
But I've heard from
I can't believe that.
George Brockler will text in and be like, they're sharing way too much information. Like, we've got to go to trial. We've got juries. There's rules of evidence. All this stuff, and maybe perhaps it's because they want to garner a conviction.
And you know what? That's a good point. They can't share all this information with us. It comes out in trial or whatnot. But I just feel like we're not being told the full story on a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And it's because they've lied. The government's lied to us that we now can't trust it. But what Candice is doing is not helpful. It's not honoring Charlie Kirk, and it's not honoring the process. And again, it's just for clicks, I think, which to me is disgraceful.
Brian, with a reasonable, balanced approach. There you go.
Nice to hear from you. Missed your voice for a while, Brian. Thanks for the call, man.
We'll continue. Tom, you're up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader. I've heard a rumor. We're coming back here in a second. See you find out together. This is CanUS.